This is Pete Burns with the Energy Conservatory. Today's webinar will be on TEC training tools. We'll be talking about the blower door simulator and the DG-700 Connect software. If you're having any trouble with the audio, you should go to the Meetings pull-down menu and choose Audio Setup Wizard. We're going to have we'll answer questions as we can. So just type in questions as you think of them. We'll also be taking questions at the end, but you need to bear in mind that because people are streaming this, it'll end at different rates for different people. So there's going to be about a 5-minute delay at the end before we really start taking live questions. So that said. And again, we'll put up a link to the webinar on the website shortly after the webinar, so you can review it or share this with other people. And if you've got any feedback or have some webinars that you'd like to see us do, shoot us some emails, and we'll see what we can do on that. So again, the agenda for this morning, we'll be talking about the blower door simulator. Blower door simulator is a software training aid that'll help trainers demonstrate how to perform a blower door test without having to physically set up a blower door system. The simulator includes a virtual Model 3 Minneapolis blower door and a DG-700 pressure and flow gauge that can be used to perform blower door tests on a virtual house. Test conditions such as building air tightness, indoor and outdoor temperatures, building height, and wind levels can be set to simulate a variety of testing scenarios. The program also includes a RESNET One-Point Test Calculator so that users can see the effects of temperature and baseline pressure correction on overall test results using the RESNET test procedure. The DG-700 Connect software is a training and quality assurance tool that'll allow users to project a virtual image of one or more connected DG-700 digital pressure gauges on a computer monitor or a projector screen. Functions and modes of the DG-700 gauge are operable by mouse clicks on the virtual gauge keypad. Makes it an ideal training aid for duct and envelope training programs. When used along with a screen sharing program, DG-700 Connect can be used for both quality assurance activities and to provide on-site technical support. And then at the very end, we'll just talk about a couple of, just share some tips that I've got with you guys. So with that said, let's talk about downloading the software. So let's jump in, and first thing you're going to need to do is jump on our website and download these pieces of software. You're going to go to Products, you'll go to Software, and you'll find the DG-700 Connect or the Blower Door Simulator. Taking a look at the softwares, what we'll do is, this is the blower door simulator. I'm going to bring up a live working version of this software. There we go. This is the blower door simulator. When you open the software, you're going to have, let's just go through the keystrokes. Pressing File, that'll have your exit button. Let's set up our conditions with this. First thing we'll want to do, we can set our gauge location so that we're either standing inside the building, or there are some applications, a lot of guys are doing multifamily where they're actually setting the gauge on the outside of the building. Let's give you some reps on that. So you can set your gauge location. We'll keep it at inside. Right to start out with, we'll do a depressurization test. We've got a Model 3 fan. Let's make it a 2-story building, and we'll keep it at a 4,000 CFM building. Keep the indoor temp at 68 degrees, and let's make it a nice sunny day in Minnesota in the winter with 0 degrees, and we'll set it, we'll give it about 500 feet of elevation, and we'll give it a little bit of wind so we can see how the wind effects play with this. We'll say okay to that. First thing you're going to want to do is you'll turn your gauge on, and again, this is just like a real live action DG-700. You don't need a DG-700 running in the background with this software. This software gives you the DG-700. I actually use this. Paul Morin and I do tech support for TEC, and when we're working with customers calling in, a lot of times I'll just pop this software up so I can go through the keystrokes rather than even hooking up my gauge. This is a great tool. So we'll power it up, and just like a normal DG-700, it'll set to its default mode of pressure. And then what we can do is we'll go up into our tube placement, and we'll connect our outside reference hose. And click on that and click here, and it'll make a connection. So now we're going to measure on channel A. We'll measure building pressure with reference to the outside, and then we'll connect our second hose, and we'll go for input on channel B to the pressure tap on our fan. Now we're currently set up to do a basic blower door test. We'll want to get into our mode, and we'll set it at pressure flow. We'll go to pressure flow at 50, and we can keep our device at the blower door 3, and we'll probably be running with an open fan. We'll keep our time averaging as it is, but as you can see, you can start a normal blower door test. Right now we're getting a little bit of, you can see we've got a baseline, so we'll run through our baseline features. So we'll go baseline, and we'll start baseline, and we'll give it at least 10 seconds to get that to store in there. And there we go, that looks good. So we'll enter in our stored baseline reading, and we'll now have displayed an adjusted baseline pressure. And then we'll want to open up our fan. We'll remove all our rings, and then we can you can either control the fan manually. There's a manual slider, so you can go over and you can manually pull the slider over and bring it up. We'll get it right around minus 50, and you can use it with either your mouse, or you can tick it over with your up-down bar. Yeah, we'll call it there, and that should be pretty good. A little high, and there we go. And that's our basic function. That we can bring it back down, stop fan. If you wanted to use the cruise feature, you would just simply go into cruise and start your fan, and it'll ramp itself up and get you right to minus 50. The other feature of this piece of software is that if you were training to the new RESNET blower door test standards, that is also built into this software. You've got a so there's our minus 50. So we'll say that, and we'll just we'll stop the fan, and we'll clear everything out, and we'll run through there we go, and let's get it back into pressure mode. And let me just show you a couple more features of the software. There's a RESNET calculator. Actually, let me show you this. There's a check. You can check your tubing, and we'll do the RESNET. We'll walk through a RESNET test. When you're working with the RESNET test, we'll start out, because we've got to do 5 baseline readings. We're going to start out in pressure mode. And so what we'll do is we're going to use the baseline feature, but we're gonna restart it every time that we have to enter in one of our baseline readings. So we'll start baseline. We got to cover up the fan. Caught that. So we'll go out of the software here, and we'll go add our no flow plate, and we'll go baseline, and we'll go start. And we're going to watch the counter. Once we have 10 seconds, then we can enter in our baseline number into our first period there. So there's 10 seconds. I'm going to go minus 1.8. And we'll restart. And we'll do another 10 seconds. Minus 3.3. And we'll restart. Minus 2.9. And we'll restart. And again, with the RESNET test, you're going to take 5 baseline readings, subtract the lowest from the highest, create your range, minus 3.2. And then we'll get our final reading. And then if it'll create a range, an accuracy baseline range, and as long as that is less than 5 pascals, it'll let us do a single point test. We're going to go minus 2.5. And then you hit the enter key, and it looks like that will allow us, the baseline range was 1.5 pascals, so it'll allow us to do a 1-point test with standard accuracy. So we're going to clear that all out, and now with this software, so let's stop that. I'm just going to do that. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to set the mode of the DG back into pressure flow mode. The RESNET test is going to use a nominal building pressure and a nominal fan flow. So we're not going to re-enter a baseline, and we're not going to do pressure flow at 50. We're just going to do pressure flow. So we'll start that, and then we're going to move back into this mode, and what we'll do is we can just jump right into opening the fan, and we will do begin cruise and start fan and let it cruise up, and it'll just take a second to get there. And again, the cruise is taken over, and as soon as we get there, as soon as we get close, then what we're going to do is we're going to add a time averaging. So once I think I get there we go. That should be really close. I'm going to give it a 10-second average. So we're just going to let it tick off for 10 more seconds. And then we'll enter in our nominal building pressure. And so we've got minus 50.5, minus 50.5, 0.5. Is that right? There we go. And it ticked over on me, but we'll go 43.9. And once you get those entered, you can hit enter, and it gives our corrected flow, and these would be your inputs for your RESNET test. And that's it. That's using the TEC Blower Door Simulator to do a RESNET compliant blower door test. And we're actually recommending that that people use the RESNET test procedures for code compliance. The 2009 option for a blower door test and the 2012 requirement for a blower door test is actually silent on the actual test standard that you're going to be using. And in lieu of a requirement for it to follow a test standard, our recommendation is to follow the RESNET standard. It's a good, robust test, and with good repeatability. And we'd recommend that everybody start using that as their test protocol. Okay, let's move on from this software, and what we'll do is we'll get that out of the way. Okay, let's take a look at the DG-700 Connect software. This piece of software is going to require that you have a connection between a live DG-700 and your computer. So you can either use your Wi-Fi link, you can use your USB cable, or you can use your old standby serial cable with a USB to serial adapter. Any of those will work on this. This one I've got already connected, but it has a scan feature. It'll find it. So you can see that this has found my DG-700. It'll display it right in the center here. And then it's a live action DG-700. We can power it on. We can turn the lights on. We can set our mode. We can even connect some hoses. So that if you wanted to show your screen, if you were doing a proctoring or working with a guy remotely using a screen sharing software, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but if you're using a screen sharing software, you could have them go through their sequence and essentially show. You're never going to know if the hoses are really hooked up right, but if they're showing it on their gauge, at least you hope they've got that figured out. But in any event, you set it up just like you would a normal DG-700, and it'll perform just like a regular DG-700. Going through a baseline mode, and we'll give it a 10-second. I've got this one connected actually to a duct blaster fan, so it's going to come to life. It'll get a little bit, we'll hear a little bit of background noise on this, and we'll enter that. So we've adjusted it, and we can bring the fan speed control on. You can also take advantage of the cruise features, all going to work. That'll get a little noisier than I want, but you guys get the idea. So again, it's a fully functioning DG-700 that you could use in a classroom, or you can use it with a screen sharing software out in the field. And let's look at that and see how that works. And we'll just keep going here. And so if you're gonna, one of the things that does pop up, if you have someone out in the field and they're using the Wi-Fi link, because the Wi-Fi link will want to use your laptop computer's internet connection, the only way that you're going to be able to do this is if you have some type of either a hotspot or a sharing software that makes a connection between a phone and your laptop computer, so that you can retain the connection between your DG with the Wi-Fi link and your laptop. So what I've been able to do, I use on an iPhone, I'll use a personal hotspot. I've never been able to do it with a Bluetooth connection, but when I hard cable it in, I can actually make that connection so that my iPhone connects to the internet, and then I can take advantage of a screen sharing software, and then my computer is also connected to my Wi-Fi link, so I can get through that. I'm just going to change a couple of quick cables here, and we'll show a quick demo of how to work with the two softwares with someone out in a remote location. That's not going to work. And we'll go here. Let's try that. So again, what that'll look like is if you pull up under Windows, you'll see that I've got a connection, a network connection through my hotspot on my iPhone. And then I have my wireless, my Wi-Fi is still connected to my DG-700. And we've gotten through a couple of these, so it does tend to work. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to switch. I'm going to use a software called Join.me, join.me. It's a free software. A little piece of software has to download, but the way that I work with it, I'll instruct the person that's out in the field. They've got to jump online. They go into Join Me, and they start a meeting. So what they'll do is they'll start their meeting, and once they get the software set up, then they'll share a code that is generated by the software. And let's see if we can get through that. And we're going to go like this, and I'm going to go through. This is a live Join Me session that I'm going to try and do right now. So now my laptop has switched over to Join Me mode, and I'm going to enter in and I'll join that meeting. And now the software has come up, and what we're going to do, I'll minimize. Looks like I've got a connection, and now it's going to do a screen share, and it's going to scan for ports. It's found the DG-700. Oopsie. Connect it. that out of the way. And we've got a live DG-700 that you're seeing remotely set on a secondary computer, on a computer that could be out in the field. And again, you could work with your trainee or your employee and say, all right, show me what you're doing out there, how you set up. And they'd say, okay, well, I power up my gauge, and they just go through their normal sequences. There's a little bit of a lag time on the software, but it really works pretty good. It's a pretty good solid connection. I'll use this not just with DG-700 Connect, but if someone is having trouble with either TEC or TEC Log 3, all of this works really quite well. So that's your remote connection. Again, sitting however far you are away, only issue ever is whether or not they're going to be able to get on the internet with some other device. Let's talk about one other aspect here. So we'll go there. Let's see. Back to this. In terms of some training tips, one of the things that we like to do with guys, if they're having any kind of trouble out in the field, there's a lot of issues where guys will just not be sure about how things are working out there, whether or not they've connected properly, or if they're having issues with their DG-700. But one of the procedures that you can do to give someone confidence that there's nothing wrong with their DG-700 is to have them jump into their DG-700 kit and pull out that T-tubing connector. And what we're going to have them do on this is have them make a connection by taking one pressure tap, input on A and input on B, and connect one open end of the hose to the T connector and the other end to their blower door or duct blaster fan. We'll have them power their gauge on, keep it into the pressure mode, set on a 1 second time average, and then crank up the fan speed. Get the fan speed controller up to between 45 and 55 pascals, set to a long-term average, and then take some readings. And basically what we're saying is if you're having an issue with the gauge, and you'll see a 1% greater than if it's larger than 1%, then you really do have a problem. But again, what this is going to do, most of the time you're going to see these within a tenth of a pascal off or something like that. It'll move around a little bit, but it's going to be dead on for the most part. But one of the other things that it does for people, it hits home that what they're really measuring on channel B is a pressure signal. And that's like a key concept that we have with people calling in. I'll have guys calling and saying, yeah, somebody wants me to record what my fan pressure is, and they're just not in tune with what the gauge is actually measuring. So a lot of times I'll just start them out in pressure mode, and then walk them through, actually have them pull out their blower door manual and go old school with them and say, all right, we're going to calculate, let's do this old school where you're just going to use the gauge in pressure mode and get a fan pressure and go to the chart and find out where you are on the chart, what pressure is on the chart, and and follow it across to what ring is on, and really have them understand that the DG-700 is, what am I really measuring? Too many times we'll have people that have just memorized a sequence of button clicks, and they're really not in tune with what the gauge is measuring or what mode it's in. They've just kind of memorized press button 2 times, 3 times, or whatever the sequence is, and we really like to back them out. And you'll find that they're more in touch with the gauge when they can understand that. Well, that's all I've got on this today. Again, have fun with this stuff. If you guys have any questions working with this software, feel free to give us a shout anytime. But download it to your heart's content.